Will you please help welcome Audrey Mason.
Visiting my great-aunt Etta was like going to a foreign land. You know, the best thing when you go to a foreign land is if you have a native guide. My mother was that native guide. She'd prep us before we went. Now, it's not aunt, it's matin. It's not hello, it's bonjour. And if all of a sudden she starts speaking French at you really, really fast, just say, Je parle français comme une vache espagnole. I've got some French speakers in the crowd. My mother actually taught me to say, I speak French like a Spanish cow. Well, the end result would always be that, in fact, my aunt would laugh just like you guys laughed, but it would also remind her that, in fact, her great-nieces and nephews didn't speak French very well at all, and she would slow down and mostly use English with us. It was always a delight to go to Aunt Etta's because she had a crystal candy dish. Now, my grandmother Mason had a crystal candy dish, but it was not to be touched, and there was never candy in it. It was just to be admired. Aunt Etta's candy dish always was full of candy. Lots of different choices of candy. And Aunt Etta would see us kind of looking at that candy dish with delight in our eyes, and she'd say, go ahead, take some, take all you want. And my mother would say, take one. And we'd get to lift the lid of that candy dish. And the thing is about a crystal candy dish is if you lift it up and you touch the sides, you get this beautiful ding. So I loved to get the candy, but I also loved that beautiful sound. So one day we were there visiting Balton, and I was playing with the candy dish because even after that one piece of candy, I got to slowly pick it up, but I didn't want people to know, so I was being careful to get it as close to the side without touching it. So I was very carefully focused on this, and then all of a sudden I heard my aunt say something about Cousin Phillipe. And I stopped. I'm like, Cousin Phillipe? We have a Cousin Phillipe? Who's Cousin Phillipe? And she goes, oh, you know who Cousin Phillipe is? And I said, no, I don't know who Cousin Phillipe is. And she looked at my mother, Jeanette, they don't know who their Cousin Phillipe is? And my mother said, I thought they knew who Cousin Phillipe is. And Aunt Etta said, just a second. She went marching over to her closet and she pulled out this large photo album. And she put it down right on our laps. And we looked down. And there was a man in a coffin, dead as a door. And she said, that's Cousin Phillipe! Now you remember Cousin Phillipe! And I can hear my mother still going, don't panic, don't be horrified, don't scream, it's okay. In Canada, they do this, they take pictures of the dead, it's okay. That is your Cousin Phillipe. So, I got my act together and said, no, matin, I don't recognize Cousin Phillipe in this picture. And so she said, oh, Jeanette, tell them about Cousin Phillipe. Oh, Cousin Phillipe. Oh, remember, Jeanette, how much fun he was. Oh, everyone loved him. He had such a great singing voice. He was always the first one. You could hear his voice ringing across in mass. And my mother aside said, you could also hear it at the local bars. And she said, oh, and he was such a good Canadian. He was so proud to be a good Canadian. And my mother said, oh, supposedly he was actually a separatist. And then my aunt said, oh, and he loved un scoop, a little sip. My mother said, no one could drink like Cousin Phillipe. And my aunt said, oh, Jeanette, do you remember the song he would always sing? Oh, it was almost so much fun. Oh, Jeanette, sing it for them. Sing it for the children. So my mother said, okay, sure. J'aime le jambon et les saucisses. J'aime le jambon, c'est bon. J'aime aussi la cuisine Madoris. J'aime le jambon et les saucisses. J'aime le jambon, c'est bon. And my mother said, now, Martin, you remember the kids don't know the French. Do you mind if I sing it in English too, so they get how much fun this song really was? And she said, oh, yeah, go. Oh, I love ham and I love sausage. I love ham, it's good. I love too the thighs of my Doris. I love ham and I love sausage. I love ham, it's good. Well, the most shocking part of that song was that Aunt Etta, my great aunt, my maiden aunt, didn't see it was shocking. and then they started laughing, and then she said, Jeanette, tell some more stories about Phillipe. And my mother said, well, there was that time that Phillipe took Ronnie, which is my father, took Ronnie drinking. He came home, and he was so drunk that he thought that the ironing board was a horse, and he leaped on top of it, straddled it, and said, "Hi-yo, Silver!" And she said, that ironing board never was the same after that. It always had a bit of a wiggle, but it always made me laugh, and I think of Cousin Phillipe when I see that ironing board. And I was amazed. This man was a god. No, it wasn't a big deal to get my father drunk. In fact, it was really a big deal to keep him sober. But to get him happy, gloriously drunk, that he was a child riding on a horse and he was Long John Silver or he was the cowboy, I wanted to know Cousin Phillipe. My God, what a man. Oh, Phillipe. Oh, and Jeanette, the way he went out like a Frenchman. Didn't he go out like a Frenchman, Jeanette? Your cousin Phillipe, he went out. He was at a wedding. He was drunk. He did have a gorgeous voice, and he was standing on the top of a table. And he was singing at the top of his voice, fully projecting. And he died suddenly of a heart attack. What a way to go. He went like a Frenchman. So here's to you, Cousin Phillipe. You taught me as a young girl how to live as well as how to die.